Welcome back to the Roastery. Today we're going to be talking about a really exciting coffee that we're just about to start offering in our lineup. It's from Cafe Granja La Esperanza. It's in Colombia, a really highly reputable coffee farm there. It's won many awards, many Brewers Cup awards, many Cup of Excellence competitions as well. And I'm really excited to start offering this one because it's a really interesting Pacamara. It's a natural Pacamara that is a humongous bean size. If you're familiar with Pacamaras, they are usually very large, but this one has a very, very distinct smell. And in my last video, I showed you this as I was roasting it. It was really interesting to roast, but now I'm actually gonna be brewing a cup of it. I will say that it's been about 2 weeks since I roasted it. About a week in, I did a brew as well, and I did a cupping. Although I said I was going to do that here on the video, I had to do it beforehand because I wanted to get all the proper senses of it, the distinct smells, the tasting notes, whatnot, because I had to get labels ordered. So I did that already. But as the coffee rests a little bit more, I know some of those notes will start to bloom and they'll showcase themselves a lot more. So I'm really excited to get this one brewed. Like I said, it's been about 2 weeks now. And at the first time that I brewed it, I got a lot of really nice, sweet, kind of cocoa nibs to it, a little bit of plum to it as well, a little bit of grapefruit actually. So I want to see what I get today. I'm hoping that it's a little bit different as it kind of sits for a bit, but let's get this in the grinder. We'll get it weighed out. We'll do about 12 grams in a V60 pour over, and then 200 grams of water. Our temperature for our water is actually going to be set to 198 degrees Fahrenheit. This is a little bit of a lighter roasted coffee. In general, all of our coffee is going to be lighter roasted, but I want to keep the temperature a little bit lower here because I think for these types of coffees, they will showcase a lot more of those subtleties, a little bit of the complexities as well that are really prominent in these coffees. So it's our first veer into kind of competition level coffees. So excited to get this one brewed. Let's get it in the grinder. I actually have the grinder set to, 17 right now. Usually I'm at about an 18 or 19. It really depends on the coffee, but this one, it brews really quickly. I noticed that during our initial brew. So I set it a little bit lower, one notch lower. I'm hoping this will be better. So we're gonna get 12 grams in the grinder. If only you could see how big these beans are, but I'm gonna show you the best that I can here from standing back here. I'm a little bit trapped, so I'm not going to get out here. But this one here, this one on my right side, the one that I'm moving my hand, is the Pacamara, and this one is the Ethiopia on my left hand. Not sure how much you can actually see the size difference, but the one in my right hand is, I would say, about not even 3/4 of the size of it. It's maybe even 65% of it, getting closer to the 1/2. So very, very large beans. Pacamaras in general are very large. So wanted to kind of note that. And as I have a few customers that are excited about me offering this, because I'm kind of hyping it up to them, I did show them the size of the beans as they came out. And as I've been having people smell it, because it has a crazy aroma to it. They're pretty astounded at how big they are. So this was roasted about 2 weeks ago. It's had a lot of time to sit, degas, build up a lot of those really great aromas and the taste that's in it. The beans are so large and dense that they take 2 rounds of 20 seconds to grind just 12 grams. All right, let's give the grounds a smell, see what we get. Ooh, immediately sweet chocolate. And then when you get inside there a lot, you get a lot more sweetness. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of preface what I'm saying with the aromas of this coffee are so much more aromatic than any other coffee that I've ever smelled, in a way where it's a distinct smell, because obviously, you know, coffee has its own type of smell to it. This one is so distinct in the way it smells that I don't even know if I would put it in the coffee category, which is cool, which is crazy. It's crazy. And you can kind of, as you're getting into more, competition levels or hard to get varieties like, geishas and whatnot, and all the newer hybrids that different farms are trying out themselves, you can get more distinct notes to them, but in general, there is still kind of a coffee smell to it. And it's really hard to explain those differences because as we put our notes on our coffees, we get small, slight hints of those smells and the tastes and whatnot. But this is so forward that it would be difficult for me to even just put it into a category of coffee. It's just so different. Yeah, it's very chocolatey, but a sweet chocolate. So on my notes that I got during the first brew, when I was brewing it, I got a plum and a grapefruit smell. I would even say just, it's so sweet that I may even just throw in, not that brown sugar really has a smell, but just the sweetness of a brown sugar, maybe like a sweet cream of some sort. Yeah, it's very aromatic. So let's get it in here. So we're going to shoot for about a 3-minute brew time. I'm hoping we can get to 3 minutes actually. We're gonna shoot for 3 minutes. We're gonna do a 40-second bloom. We're gonna shoot for about 30 to 35 grams for the bloom. And then a couple more intervals of pours until we get to 200 grams, and then that will sit until about 3 minutes. We'll give it a smell during the blooming process and also during the brewing, so as it's actually brewing. The blooming process is really where you start to unleash a lot of those smells. And as it's brewing, more of those will start to come out, and more of the distinct smells that you'll actually get when you taste it, those will start to flourish as well. So let's start the process here. Here we go. All right, so we're in blooming. A little spicy. Ooh, very sweet spice. Cinnamon a little bit. Yeah, definitely. It turned into cinnamon as it sat there a little bit longer. Yeah, so we're at 32 grams. So that's what we were aiming for. And we're going to pour until about 70 grams right now. And we're doing a quick pour method. I've been really liking the quick pour method lately, as I believe it extracts and it kind of penetrates the coffee a lot quicker, and it unleashes a lot of those notes more. We're going to let this one sit until the 1:10. Yeah, we have unlocked a lot more of the kind of, kind of the plum smell to it. It's very aromatic. I can't say that more. That smells amazing. So brew time, 2 minutes and 55 seconds. A little bit quicker than we anticipated here. I was hoping for about a 3-minute brew time, but 5 seconds is fine. Let's see what we smell on the nose here. Ooh, yeah. Okay, so is that cinnamon I'm getting? Yeah, it's very sweet. Even a little bit of cumin to it. Yeah, it's interesting. It's not very floral. I don't believe I've had very many Pacamaras that were floral smelling, but I was kind of hoping with how much this one smells and how aromatic it is that I thought that it may potentially have some aspects of floralness to it, but there isn't much to it. So what we'll do here is I'll pour a little bit. I'll give it a drink as it is too hot to drink, I would say, but I just want to see what I'm getting on it. And then coffee is always best consumed when it cools down, not to a point where it's completely, lukewarm or cold in a way. But kind of between that and hot is the most pleasant time to drink it. It's when a lot of those notes have unleashed themselves and they started to blossom and bloom. Wow. Interesting. It has a little bit of a, is that like an like a bourbon kind of taste to it? Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So the chocolate, I'm getting a little bit of chocolate to it on that second sip. But in the very beginning, I could have sworn I was drinking a bourbon whiskey of some sort. That's interesting. Okay, so as I drink it some more, I'm getting a little bit of the sweetness from the fruits, a little bit of a grapefruit and plum to it. I don't really get the cinnamon notes as I was getting on the aromas as I was brewing it. That faded away pretty quickly. We want to let this sit for about a minute or so to kind of cool down. Wow, that is extremely unique. I will go out and say I've never had a coffee like that before. Never had a coffee like that. I've had a lot of coffees. When I had my kind of awakening experience with coffee about 10 years ago, I had an Ethiopian coffee that tasted like a blueberry. And that was kind of an awakening experience. And that was the first time where I said I've never had a coffee like that. Ever since then, I've realized that Ethiopian coffees will traditionally have a berry forward taste to them as long as they're, roasted properly and whatnot. And still love Ethiopian coffees to this day. Still my favorite place to grow coffees. But when I got exposed to geisha varieties, especially, that is where I started to say, these are so unique and delicate that they don't even taste like coffees. And I can't have them every day because they're just so delicate and they're so different. This is on another level. Completely other level. It's in a way where if you've ever had a chocolate bar with cocoa nibs inside of the chocolate bar, if you were to just take out those nibs and just throw them directly into your mouth, that is what this tastes like when you swallow. I'm gonna get a little bit more of a pour in here. I'm gonna save a little bit for the end. And I wanna see what else I'm getting. Wow. Okay, as that cools, I got a little bit of the whiskey taste again, which is so unique. It's a very interesting taste to it. The plum, I would still go with a very nice, subtle plum note to it. A little bit of a grapefruit to it as well. I think that's where the sweetness is coming from, is from kind of the grapefruit. Wow. Okay. And okay, we're gonna do this one more time because I am not sure, based on that sip, if I like it. Wow, okay. It's changing a lot as it cools. Changing a lot. A little bit of a nectarine, but an unripe nectarine. If you've had one before, they're a little bit more dry, a little bit more sour actually. Getting that, and it's not the most pleasant tasting coffee now. So that's really interesting. I liked this coffee more when it was warmer, and I would say 99% of my other coffees that I offer, they get better as they cool to a point where they're not lukewarm and they just aren't drinkable by that. But this is still pretty warm, but I prefer it when it was warmer, when it was a little bit hotter. The temperature was a little bit more. So that's probably one of the first times I've ever had that experience, and I'm a little astounded here. And what's also interesting is that kind of bourbon whiskey taste has stayed throughout when it was really hot and when it started to cool down. So very distinct coffee. So I'll leave it with this. If there's one thing that you get from this video, it's number one, Cafe Granja La Esperanza. That farm produces some wildly crazy varieties and some wildly crazy good tasting coffees. I've had other coffees from them before that were just amazing, really great geishas that they make. But specifically with this one is that, number one, let the coffee kind of sit for a bit. That will really help that coffee flourish and brighten up and really show its true colors and what the notes taste like. But on the inverse of that, you may even see a different side of it to a point where you may not even like it. So I always say this to my customers is that your first brew of a coffee, no matter if I tell you how to brew it or not, or if I have instructions how to brew it, it's always going to be a trial and error. Your first brew of it, you may grind it too coarse or you may grind it too fine, and it may be a little too watery, a little more too bold and sour, bitter, whatever it is, right? That first one is always going to be a little off. Think of that with your coffee as well. Maybe you usually let your coffee sit, and that's usually where your sweet spot is. No pun intended. But that might not be the case with all coffees. The thing with coffee is that you never know what you're getting yourself into with any new coffee, especially if you're buying, competition level coffees. They could all kind of show their true colors a little bit differently. And with this one from Cafe Granja La Esperanza, it's really showing its true colors differently as it cools down. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, put a comment down. I love to answer questions. If you look at any of my other videos, I answer questions all the time. Love answering questions. And I'm learning just as everyone else is. So if you find something that you think that we can improve on, let us know. And we have a website where you can check us out. You can buy our coffee, get subscriptions, do all the fun stuff. We also have social media, so check us out there. But with that, I'm going to finish this very last sip of it. Even if I might not be the biggest fan now as it's cooled down, but I'm going to enjoy it. Till the next video. Wow, that has changed a lot.